morning all. Today, Sean, Caitlin and I are exploring the science concept of reversible and irreversible changes. Firstly, I'll be giving an explanation of the science concept and following on with the curriculum links. Sean will then introduce the inquiry question. She will then explain what we did to answer the question and what we observed from conducting the experiment. Caitlin will then conclude with an explanation of the reasons why we got the results we did, and she will also be exploring the links to real-world context for the inquiry. Firstly, different materials can be changed when they are either mixed, cooled, or heated. A reversible change can be explained when a material is changed by either of those methods, and then it is able to be changed back to its original form. For example, when you freeze orange juice, you can always just melt it back to its original form of juice. Another example of reversible change is when you mix salt in water. The salt may have dissolved, but if you leave the water to evaporate, the salt will eventually return to its original form. As you can see on the images on the presentation, heating and cooling changes the substance, but it does not create a new substance. A number of reversible changes that can be caused by heating or cooling include evaporating, condensing, freezing and melting, and dissolving. On the other hand, an irreversible change, also known as a chemical change, is when material is changed in such a way that they become a completely new substance. During the process of the change, the chemical compounds are changed, therefore it is considered to be a permanent change and cannot be reversed back to its original state. An example of an irreversible change is when we cook dough in the oven. When we cook dough, it becomes bread, but this process cannot be undone, therefore it is considered irreversible. Another example is when we cook eggs on the frying pan. The egg begins as a liquid but then ends in a solid, and this cannot be undone, therefore it is also considered irreversible. Examples of other irreversible changes include burning, baking, cooking, and rusting. Now where do we find this concept? In the curriculum. This concept is explored in grade 6. Teachers are able to find the content descriptor under the science understanding strand within the chemical sciences substrand. The content descriptor that directly links to the concept is ACSSU095. Changes to materials can be reversible or irreversible. Within the content descriptor includes a number of elaborations. The elaborations that will link directly to our inquiry include investigating the change in state caused by heating and cooling of a familiar substance, and investigating reversible reactions such as melting, freezing, and evaporating. Throughout this investigation, teachers should also be observing the content descriptor found in the science inquiry skills strand. The specific content descriptor is in the planning and conducting substrand. ACSSU103. Identify, plan, and apply the elements of scientific investigations to answer questions and solve problems using equipment and materials safely and identifying a potential risk. The elaboration for this content descriptor is considering which investigation methods are most suited to answer a particular question or to solve a problem. Aspects of the questioning and predicting content descriptor can also be observed if students are able to give predictions on what they think may happen during the investigation. After the inquiry, teachers should be able to observe a number of aspects within the achievement standards. Firstly, students will be able to classify different types of observable changes to material. They will also be able to collect and interpret their data and be able to describe relationships in the data. Now I'll pass it over to Sean to explain the inquiry question and what we did to answer the question. On the other